Travis Wingate, so I should be going to bed, but I'm troubled. I mean, it's one thing from my perspective, knowing that the church is evil and expecting them to do this. It's another thing for the church to do it to those who still believe in them. I mean, the church leaders are literally abandoning the Mormons, their devoted followers, just like Trump is doing to his believers. You know, he still goes out and makes appearances. Church leaders still have their conference. They still post videos, hashtag hear him. But they're both actively trying to murder Mormons. Bednar, I mean, his death threat, he's re-upped it with this Saudi Arabia interfaith conference thing, where he's saying that church is a necessity, and it needs to be open during the coronavirus, just like medical workers. And I just weep inside for Mormons who are so blinded that they literally say, yeah, we need to get to church, and they forget the Book of Mormon. They just abandon the Book of Mormon for whatever a prophet tells them to do, tells them to believe in. I just, you know, the Zoramites. Seriously, Mormons, you don't know about the Zoramites? The Rameumptom? Sound any bells? It's a unique word. You should know about the Rameumptom. Well, the rich Zoramites kicked out the poor because of their poverty. They were the ones who built the synagogue, and so after they built the synagogue, they were unemployed. But the poor Zoramites were telling Alma, we have no place to worship. How are we going to worship our God? So what does Alma do? Says you don't need church. Didn't say you don't need temple. There's a difference. Christians don't believe so, but you can worship God wherever you are 24/7. There are no limits or restrictions, because worship is an inner attempt to connect with God. And as long as you got the right God, you'll have the right results. But it's not stopping anybody. This coronavirus isn't stopping people from worshiping God. And so it's disturbing to have a prophet of the Lord, as he claims, as Mormons believe, telling them that, you know, hey, this, you know, so what about this coronavirus? We need to assemble. We cannot be held back. We cannot have our government leaders telling us that we can't gather. And this is a virus. I mean, even Moses. I mean, it's the blatant connection to our day. And yet, no, Mormons don't see it. They don't make the connection. They follow the prophets as they demand to gather, as they demand not to wear masks, demand to continue to escalate the virus. And so, yeah, Aaron Mendenhall was on Chris Matthews today, because Utah is skyrocketing after opening schools, by the way. but it's been rising ever since Governor Herbert opened back on May 1st, the anniversary of the Illuminati. And she even called him out on Chris Hayes' show, blamed him for having opened back in May. And she doesn't understand why. You know, again, she's a believer in government. And so she doesn't understand why Governor Herbert would do this. Well, I know Governor Herbert's doing it because of the church. They extorted him, saying, "We need our church open, Governor." Okay, I obey. And so he just does it. I mean, the airport director for Salt Lake, still gone. He's still missing. I'm the only one who apparently hasn't forgotten him. He's lost everything in his life. He still has yet to have some kind of a hearing, to get an appointment of counsel or to bail hearing. He's just disappeared. He's gone. And that was all so that Herbert can open up the airports. I mean, at least before this coronavirus, the prophets were at least putting on a facade of caring. You know, they went out to the hurricane zones, and so I know they can't go to the hurricane zones now, but they can speak out and say, hey, our thoughts and prayers are with them during this crisis. We're still sending food. But instead, the church news is only reporting helping hands in that area. So when it came to Utah's storm, silence. Nothing. An October conference, Nelson finally referred to it, but didn't indicate anything that the church had done. Just said, oh, coronavirus, the storm, and earthquake. And Mormons, they don't see that the church is making money by opening up churches, temples, missions, businesses. As Mormons are dying, Mormons don't see murder to get gain. They don't make the connection. And so I see it, and I'm horrified. But Mormons, they are so loyal and blind. And now that the church is abandoning them, and there will come a time where it's a complete abandonment, and Mormons are going to be stuck going, what just happened? Where are they? What happened? And that kind of a shock is far more devastating to a person than what I went through finding out that the church is pure evil, which is pretty shocking in and of itself. But at least I was prepared, because I followed the scriptures, followed Joseph Smith to pursue truth. And when you pursue truth, yes, the truth is hard when it's about wickedness, about your religion. But like Alma was trying to tell the poor Zoramites, it's not about the church. God is independent of the church. Now I understand Elder Pullman's talk in 1984 October General Conference, which is now removed. You can't find it. You can find it on YouTube, but I mean, the church had him change it. How dare you separate the church from the gospel? They're one and the same. Read it again. And Mormons just say, nah, who cares? They do whatever they want. Oh, the prophets get paid? Well, the stake presidents aren't paid. The bishops aren't paid. The Elders Quorum president's not paid. Relief Society president's not paid. So we're still a lay ministry. and Mormons just don't get it. that when the church abandons them, and they are preparing to abandon them, they're passing everything off to the stake presidents, the stakes. I mean, Handbook 1 was publicly released. I mean, when they abandon Mormons, they're taking their money with them. And so the churches are going to be left on their own without any income to continue to support the church buildings. And so it'll be up to every single stake membership to pay tithing to the stake president in order to keep it running. I mean, it's going to be a disaster. You're going to have places that will not be able to take care of the buildings. And the buildings will have to be put up for sale or whatever. And that's only if things continue as they're going, with no direct intervention. They didn't respond as I demanded they do so, and I didn't expect them to. But I'm the only one confronting them on this. Nobody else is directly confronting them. Nobody's protesting outside Temple Square or Nelson's home to say, hey, shut it down. But they want money. They're getting a last-ditch effort to get as much money as they can, knowing the collapse is imminent. And I worry for Mormons. And I know Mormons are going to hate me. Not just the 2 Russians who are trying to let themselves be known to me right before the election. And then sometime when the election's all decided and America is destroyed, then they'll just magically disappear. Oh, I wonder where they went. Oh, they're on a submarine heading to America to conquer it by land? Got it. So I'm gonna post this video tomorrow, but mourn for LDS faithful. That tentative make and upload. Tentative title, so it'll help me remember what I talked about here. But that's what I discussed in my brief that they received today, is that they're literally murdering to get gain. Having opened the missions, they are guilty of the blood of Annabelle out in Switzerland. And it wasn't the church. Church never said anything. The church news covered what the mission president reported. And then they had one of the missionary companions who you can tell had a big crush on her. He's her friend. And then he cries and tries to turn it into a missionary opportunity video. I know that she's now in a better place now that she's dead. No. She shouldn't have died. But he just doesn't see that Nelson's responsible. That Nelson reopened the missions and that she went back, either new assigned or reassigned. They don't see it. They don't understand the cause. And there are certain situations where evil people don't want people to know the cause because it's them. And so I understand that they purposely deceive and then come out and say, oh, we don't want to look to blame anybody. We're trying to help and we're doing the best we can under the crisis that we caused. That's what Herbert came out and said. Dear God, we're doing the best we can under the circumstances. Yeah, which you caused. You didn't listen to the health professionals. And now you're on national news exposed by Aaron Mendenhall as the one to blame. And yes, I know you got it from both Trump and the church. Trump called out to all the states and said, hey, open up or you don't get any funding. So I know he was extorted. And so as an obedient to unrighteous authority and unlawful authority, he obeyed. And that's disturbing, that there are so many police officers, there are so many government officials, so many military who are not saying, no, I'm not going to turn on Americans. That's not a good order, and I will not follow it. And saying, and quitting or getting fired because they stood up to them and said no. We're supposed to be having a mass exodus of employees and police and government, but instead you have the initial quitting by those who are bullies. Oh yeah, you're trying to stop us from being bullies? Well, we'll show you, we quit. Okay. Good. Go get your temporary $600 a month. I mean, we are literally in a crisis. As our whole society, government, economy, religion, socializing has just collapsed. And we're in ruin. And Russia are just drooling, waiting for the final knockout blow. And they cheered when they got Trump in. And now they're drooling for the final knockout punch. And the church is involved. They're helping it. And I know why, but Mormons will never know why. They'll just be gone as America is in ruins. And they'll go, what happened? Where's our leader, our prophet, to guide us in these latter days? What happened? Why did this happen? And they won't have access to the internet, so they can't find my videos. Go, hey, there's this Travis guy. Who's he? I heard he was an apostate. Well, they lied to me. He's actually trying to warn us. Unbelievable. Why didn't anybody let me know about him? Why was he silenced from me? Why didn't I believe? So I'm also kind of troubled and wondering if I should be pissed at God. I occasionally argue with the Spirit, and I win on numerous occasions. I'm smarter than the Spirit. That's a little personal inside joke between the two of us. So you won't understand as you're offended. Oh yeah, Travis, you think you're smarter than the Spirit? Yes. Yes, I do. If you understand that the Holy Ghost is a personage of Spirit, and then you go to Abraham, where it says, where there are two intelligences, one is more intelligent than the other, and it comes because of obedience to gaining more and more light and intelligence, then you would understand what I'm talking about. Until then, don't even bother. But with God, I mean, he makes it clear in the scriptures. His word will be fulfilled. Shall is the word he uses. Shall means will. And he even says all. Shall all be fulfilled. So the question is, we're running out of time. So unless the Exodus is mistranslated and Moses didn't actually leave in the first month, and it's the second or third or 3 years later, you know, we kind of need to know that information, have that corrected, but it's a little late. Sunday is the last day, so 2 more days. So yeah, I knew as I did the video that it wasn't going to be me and this lawsuit. It wasn't going to be the fulfillment. But I still did my part. And they didn't respond, which means they have no interest in responding. They're just going to be silent and expect that Judge Jenkins will refuse to recuse himself and dismiss with prejudice. Even though I put, he needs to recuse. And then I went over. I followed the form. The cause of action, you list the count from the law code. I did that. And then I listed the facts. You don't list the evidence. It says facts. Because the evidence is for the evidentiary hearing, which comes later. And yet they're still saying, nope, dismiss it all. Don't you dare let him reveal those evidences in court. I mean, it was bad enough that I was slipping them in during all this time between the 2 cases. I did it on purpose. It needs to be public. The church cannot get away with this. But it's just going to be sad for Mormons, because I can grasp the level, the depth of their betrayal. And there's been a movie, was it a superhero movie? Something like that. It was a villain movie of some kind where the good guy is the bad guy and fools the person, and then he goes, oh, you thought I was the good guy, or something like that. And oh wow, this has got to be crushing for you. As the victim is, you can see on their face that they're crushed. That ultimate betrayal. It's like finding out your dad is Dahmer, or Hannibal Lecter, or Charles Manson, having been raised up in a good, prosperous home with him loving you and treating you good and taking care of you and paying for your mission, paying for your schooling, paying for your marriage, and then finding out he's a serial killer this whole time. He slaughtered little kids and nuns on buses and little kittens and puppies. And it's that kind of horror. Almost as much as Giuliani's daughter. She showed up last night on Rachel's show. telling people to vote for Biden. Your own daughter betraying, turning on you and turning on Trump. Alright, so yeah, like I said, I'll upload this tomorrow morning. But yeah, I mean, this is just a sad situation, because I see it coming. You know, if nothing happens by God fulfilling his promise and word and prophecies and whatever else, Trump will finish us off by the election. And so the church will have also fled. Section 101 of the Doctrine and Covenants, if you're wondering. Joseph Smith prophesied that the church leaders would abandon Mormons. Should we go to it? Should I stay up longer? Get less sleep? Parable of the nobleman and the olive trees, signifying the troubles and eventual redemption of Zion. Oh, Bruce. Bruce. The building in Samson. No, Bruce, it's a temple of the Philistines. Samson tears down the temple. A building. God. And see, and Mormons think he's the smartest Mormon ever to have lived. And then you have some who have read Talmage, because as missionaries we have to read Jesus the Christ, and then there's the Articles of Faith book he did also, and he just uses big words, but once you understand those big words you go, oh God, he's dumb. He just went through the dictionary and picked out some words and put them in. He plagiarized scripture but put big words in their places. Yeah, so, but yeah, you're not going to know unless you know what the big words are. Alright, so, and now I will show unto you a parable, that you may know my will concerning the redemption of Zion. And so pay attention, because section 103 needs to follow this. Or should I do this separate as a video? Yeah, we'll do a separate video for the section 101. Do section 101 video with section 103 verse 14 to 16. Alright. Save it for tomorrow.